now we get to drop into really looking at collective teacher efficacy. We know it is such a huge impact for students. So we're going to take a look at what does that mean? How do we know when we're doing it? So I'm going to share a definition with you first. And I'm going to have you go ahead and read this to yourself. Now, we're going to lift out three elements of this definition. And the first is that we really believe that what strategies we have tried is what's leading to students being able to do the things we were trying to do, or what strategies we're trying weren't working with that particular group of students, and that's okay, but we have to be really aware of it. The next aspect I really want to lift out is that concept of, how do I know? What are the data points where when I was trying this particular strategy with these particular scholars, what are my indicators that things went well or that things didn't? I have to have those data points. And I know that I'm going to be stronger and we really develop collective efficacy when I'm working with my colleagues to analyze those problems of practice and be able to engage in, here's what was working, here's what wasn't, here's how we're going to adjust and continue to study our craft of teaching. Now, what does it look like? What are the success criteria for when we have that collective efficacy in place? Well, we know that we can articulate a common purpose. We know that we're in constant conversations about how we work together, and we're constantly going in and digging into the how piece together and refining that. That we have agendas that talk about here's our purpose and here are our outcomes when we're doing those more formal meetings. Or if it's not a formal meeting, if we're just meeting as a department or a group of colleagues, we still have that intent, we have that purpose. And as we're engaging in discussions, that goal aspect is a part of it. It's goal driven, it's outcome oriented. Now, we're going to dig in with your small group who you're working with today, who you know you're engaging with teaching in the next couple of weeks. We know that we're starting this year with a really important aspect, and that's that groups will adopt their own norms, whether they're formally named or not. So it doesn't matter whether or not you've actually articulated, yes, we have norms. Every group has norms that they are using. Sometimes they're written, sometimes they're not. So the first step in developing collective efficacy is intentionally naming those norms. That way they're visible and we can hold ourselves to them. So as you're going to develop some norms with your group, we wanted to identify some of the guidelines. And these guidelines are definitely from our text. You'll again see those pages down there. They talk about fewer is better. You have to understand and remember what your norms are. So fewer is better. They need to be co-constructed where we all agree to these. And so if we start with a group, we might do some tweaking. We might do some changes. We have to be able to encourage them as positives. They need to be specific and they've got to be visible. Okay, for us to do our collective teacher efficacy, they've got to be visible. If you're talking about in your classroom, they still have to be able to see them and understand what they look like. And of course, like everything, connect right back to PBIS. If we don't explicitly teach them and rehearse them, of course, we're not going to be successful. So that's that really important aspect of we're going to teach them, we're going to rehearse them, we're going to keep practicing, and we're going to hold ourselves to those expectations as adults. So we wanted to provide you with 3 different examples of what could those norms look like in an adult setting. And the first is an example from our district leadership. And A team is using this, I team is using this, district leadership team is using these. These are the ones that we're looking at as our 2021 learning norms. The first is stay engaged, experience discomfort, speak your truth, expect and accept non-closure, and understand the difference between intent versus impact. Those were all lifted up from Singleton's work, if you want to dig into the research base on that. The next set comes from a different research base, which is Adaptive Schools, about developing groups. These are the 7 norms that Adaptive Schools has articulated. And our final example actually is lifted out of our co-teaching trainings. For those of you who've been in co-teaching training over the last few years, just to talk about how sometimes norming doesn't have to be this expansive progress. It is, what are the things we're committing to do, and what are the things that we're going to commit maybe to try not to do in planning and communication and when we're instructing together.
So throughout these professional developments, we just wanted to point out that one of the things that we've done is really be intentional about using the PDSA process to promote and build collective efficacy. Being able to learn and improve with your cohorts, with your peers, gives us a sense of collective efficacy and gives us the ability to move forward and improve at a faster rate. We've looked at our goals. What do we need to plan to improve? What specific results do we want? And what strategies might we test? We've looked back at the do. We've looked back at the spring and thought, what strategies did we use? And what were the results of those strategies? And then we started to think and analyze in that reflect piece about what changes are we going to make based on our findings. So now we're back to plan. We want to start setting aspirations and outcomes for this coming year. Well, probably not the year. Let's even go smaller. Let's talk about this next month. For your task and for our exit task in this module, what we really want you to think about with a group and to design and create are, what are 2 aspirations that you want to choose as a group, that you want to achieve as a group?